From the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
To start the season, and I think that we need to pile on. Want to welcome you in. Mike Detillier will join us at 8:30. WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He'll join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I did watch some of the 49ers and Jets last night. Was not surprised at the way that turned out, just because the 49ers are one of the most well-run franchises in the NFL.
Without McCaffrey.
Yeah. I mean, line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, both operating at the top of their game. And they got on the New York Jets.
So I got to know what your thoughts are if you're Aaron Rodgers today. Like, if you put yourself in Aaron Rodgers' shoes, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts halfway through the ball game? Because I don't think they stood a chance in that ball game, right? I think it was over.
No, I think that Aaron is played at such a insane level for so long, and he has been so successful that he believes they'll get better.
Oh, man. Oh.
Guys like that are wired, they'll lose. I mean, he may lose, but he believes that that they will get much, much better. He obviously didn't play last year.
Right.
Or whenever he popped his Achilles.
Yeah.
And,
I got one game.
He's 40, but I still think he made some really good throws at times. I know they didn't do what they wanted, but they also ran into a team that's been rolling for quite some time now, for several years.
Absolutely.
They know who they are.
Right.
They know what they want to be and all of that. And they know how to fill out a roster. I think that's what Lynch and Shanahan and their personnel team, they know how to build a 53-man roster.
That's got to come down to Lynch.
That sounds simple, but it's not. And they know how to do it and do it real well. So
yeah, I mean, it's dang impressive.
Yeah,
because those guys are sharp,
and they've been there, and they've been deep into the playoffs. And Jordan Mason is your guy.
I mean, look,
here's what happens: Kyle Shanahan, maybe the best run game coach that's walking the planet right now.
That's a very
and
good point.
I like McCaffrey.
Oh,
but does it matter?
Doesn't matter. Just you're dang right.
Because of the way that they coach the offensive line, their concepts, and the things that they do. I mean, does it matter?
Now, don't get me wrong.
To say that it takes an enormous burden off of Purdy is an understatement, right? I mean, because they were gashing the Jets in the running game. And when you do that at the NFL, I mean, you see that in high school and college. But, that's awesome.
Man.
That's awesome.
That's a rough year, though, man. That's going to be a rough year ahead. He's delusional. He's not bringing that team back. They're trash.
They've been that for the better part of 40 years.
Good point.
Rex Ryan took them to a couple of AFC championship games. Parcells went to the AFC championship game with the Jets.
Yeah. When's the last? Oh, no way. The last time they won it, was it? It was Namath.
Yeah.
Wow.
Namath called his shot.
That was the last
in 1967 or 8 or something.
The last time the New York Jets won the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't,
But, I mean, they have been to some AFC
Sure, yeah,
championships,
they've
but
been
they've
in
had
there.
a bunch of, 2, 3, 4 win years.
so you asked, did McCaffrey matter, right?
They never really figured out the quarterback position.
No.
And now they have one, but you have to ask the question is, I think he's fine age-wise for at least another year.
Oh, he's fine. But
Or this year. The question is, everything around him is Robert Saleh.
Right.
I mean, I know Saleh knows football, but that doesn't mean you're a head coach.
No.
I mean, we have a lot of guys that know
No.
football that are in high school. That
Sure.
doesn't mean they can lead a program. In college, that doesn't mean,
That's right.
sometimes you need to be an offensive line coach or a DC or whatever.
That guy.
But
He doesn't strike you as a head coach either. If I met him out and about, I don't go up to him thinking he's an NFL head coach.
well, he just said, there's his quote, "We'll definitely be better."
Well, I don't think you have a choice. Yeah, you're pretty dang bad. He scored 7 points in the first half. Aaron Rodgers supposed to be MVP this year again.
Well, I don't know if he's supposed to
according
be
to him.
MVP.
According to him, which I'm with. I want him to be
when you
confident.
got Mahomes
Right.
and Josh Allen and some of the others. But, hey, the 49ers,
Boy.
it just doesn't matter. They can run the
Right.
football.
28 carries last night for the running back we just mentioned, Jordan Mason. 28 carries, 147.
28 for 147.
God bless.
Kyle Shanahan is a freak when it comes to the running game, running game concepts, formations, and
To be
and
fair,
the way that they coach the offensive line.
you gotta be fair here. I can't.
And his dad was one hell of a football coach too, by the way.
He was, but I can't skip over McCaffrey like that.
What do you mean skip over?
I can't say he's that interchangeable. He is interchangeable to an extent, but the hands that he has they're very good.
He's a good player.
He's got hands for a running back.
He walked out on that
he's-
feeling it was like football Jesus had hit. Yeah, you damn right.
Maybe his girlfriend whenever his fiance walks out. Good God.
Oh, yeah, the picture of Greg Olson partying at McCaffrey's wedding.
Man, Olivia Culpo. That's the guy did all right, man. McCaffrey did all right. Don't they have a whole line of people that have done all right? His dad.
Yeah.
Oh, Ed.
Is that his dad?
I think so.
I don't think so.
No way.
From the Broncos?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe it is. Okay.
It better be Ed.
I didn't realize that. Or maybe I did and I'd forgotten about it. The agup.com text line is 601-885-3776. It is.
That's his dad.
And his mom was a college athlete too.
Yes.
Like at Stanford or something. I mean, she was
Lisa McCaffrey.
Lisa McCaffrey. Yeah. Twitter handle at Bowbounds. And the Stella Artois caller line is 601-707-3750. What do you got?
At Stanford?
That's what I just said.
So there's a Stanford family?
Yeah.
What?
Well,
I mean, when
you said Lisa McCaffrey, and I remember just them showing her one time because she's attractive.
Yeah.
That she played ball. What did she play? Like
Wow.
volleyball
Yeah, I think
or
I'm
tennis or swimming or?
probably going to be more along the lines of that. She doesn't have a wiki, but I'm looking.
Okay. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We want you to join us tomorrow from 4 to 6
Soccer.
at Martin's in Livingston. We're going to have a Patron party. We'll feature 2 Patron cocktails. Martin's in Livingston tomorrow, 4 to 6. Tell your friends, bring your client, bring your girlfriend, bring your boyfriend, bring whoever. Scandalous jersey?
Yeah. I have a scandalous everything, I believe.
Yeah.
We try to.
You would do I I don't know where to go here because everything cycles, so many things cycle in and out or cyclical, but are we seeing a little bit of a resurgence into the they're not calling it, but the fullback position or halfbacks that look like fullbacks to be technical or running backs that look like fullbacks?
They wouldn't dare call it that.
I'm just, after the first weekend, I was just thinking about that. Especially NFL. No, a little college too. I'd have a bruiser that could do, several different things. But if the NFL thinks it works, then it works.
Right. You're talking about having a guy back there where, if you take the snap, you fake the handoff with your right and you hand it to him with your left, and then he's busting up the middle. Like it just very quickly. You take the snap. And instead of handing it with your right, you fake the right, you hand it with your left, and there he is. Big boys taking it to the house.
Big boys.
He's 300 pounds can't fall forward 3 yards? Yeah, right.
No, I'm not talking about 300 pounds. I'm just talking about 240 to 245 pounds.
They can't fall 3 yards?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, 3 yards, I don't know. 3 yards is a long way in the NFL.
Yeah, it is.
I was just thinking, how hard it is to get a yard in the NFL, especially when everybody knows kind of what you're trying to do.
Right.
Not on like first down.
Yeah.
I'm talking third down or fourth down when you're trying to get, but you were watching over the weekend and it's insane how good the game is. And that was week 1.
So you're telling me you have the refrigerator on your squad, William Perry. You're not just going, that's 330.
Well, Kiffin was running Pegues. I would not. Okay. Kiffin's got so much going for him, and every their hopes and dreams are in December.
Sure, yeah.
And the college football playoff and things like that. I just remember when Hugh Freeze got cute and ran Robert Kimdichia against Memphis.
Oh yeah,
and he got a concussion.
Forgot about that.
And my thing is, there's no point. Like, as brilliant as Kiffin has become, as a head football coach,
right?
I wouldn't get cute. I think when you get cute in life, whatever it is, because people, as humans, we tend to like to do that.
Yep.
It just doesn't work out, and I just wouldn't. I wouldn't be running Pegues.
That makes sense
because all it takes is one lick on the hip. Or something, or crashing down on the knee. Now, could it happen to him when he's playing D? Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't need it happening to him when we're playing Furman.
Right.
And we just won 76-0. Man.
I can't. I completely forgot about Hugh handing the ball off.
Yeah.
And
Kimdichie got, as big as and powerful as he was.
He got drilled.
He got smoked.
He got drilled.
That
was the highlight.
I don't think those guys aren't, that's not how they're trained.
No.
Just because they're athletes, it sounds good.
Not when you're running with your face mask up.
But, all of a sudden you take the wrong hit and you need Pegues against LSU, Georgia, maybe the SEC championship game, round 1, and then whatever you do in the college football playoff.
Need him on the defensive side instead of offensive against. Yeah. You think?
That won't sit well with some Ole Miss fans. Will claim you're taking a shot at Kiffin.
Oh, the Tunsil score back in the day, that was cute.
Did he score?
Yeah, he scored. Remember?
I don't remember. Did they do a little make him eligible and he ran? Oh, I remember. Well, that's the last game of the year.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Okay,
it's fine.
and
I'd rather it be cute.
That's a different deal.
Okay, all right, yeah.
That's a different deal.
Now. Yeah, and still, he wouldn't have fit the bill for me either as somebody I'd hand the ball off to and let him fall. No way. I don't want that guy taking any kind of licks he doesn't need to take.
Laramie Tunsil's along with, I guess, Jackie Slater, is the best offensive lineman to ever play in the state of Mississippi. I wouldn't be running him. In the Sugar Bowl, last game of the year, different deal.
Have at it.
Let's talk about a national treasure. We talked about Mike Leach, and he was a national treasure. As far as one as a coach, he was amazing because he won at places that are extremely difficult to win, and then he took less and beat teams that had more talent all the time. And also, 1,000 people are doing what some kind of variation of what he did, right? Today, this Friday night, this Saturday, this Sunday. It was funny talking to Dilfer about Leach and just the respect these people. Mark Rippon, Well, Mike Gundy is now kind of our national treasure in college football. This is what Gundy had to say after the Arkansas game as far as throwing it to the tight end.
Well, you guys complained about me not throwing to the tight end, and social media's killing my ass. Gage tells me social media's all over me about not throwing to the tight end, and my old man's all over me about not throwing to the tight end. So I said, guys, we got to start throwing to the tight end. And
it always works.
Well, I know you're right. I'm not disagreeing. I mean, that's why I don't let Dunn come in here and you guys rip his ass for not throwing to the tight end.
Y'all, he dropped BS. Y'all know what that stands for. In his press conference yesterday, I sent it to you. I want you to edit that out. It was great.
Yeah.
And this guy it's not just that he's doing his coach's show at a nursing home. Oh. It's the fact that he is in a state of his life where he does not give a damn.
Can't do anything
He's
wrong.
already made 10, what did we say the other day? Over $80 million as the head football coach for Oklahoma State. He is fascinating because he's a lot like Mike Leach. He doesn't have a good staff.
Right.
He doesn't like to recruit, but he'll beat you.
Oh, and
he's just and what did our friend say? Those two guys are just like, just give me 22 players and let's go. Just find give me a football field and give me 22 players. There are very, 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 very few coaches that can do that.
Yeah.
And Leach and Gundy are two of those. I started talking about this long before Leach got to start because I didn't know Leach was going to get hired and start. Well, Ole Miss had wanted him a couple times. State had wanted him a couple times. Whatever. You remember all the message board fodder over Leach? He was super hot at Texas Tech, and after the Gardner Minshew year and winning 11 games at Washington State, he was hot. But when you think about Leach, I didn't really know the whole deal till he got here. Like, his staff was below average at best.
Oh, at best.
He just didn't care about staffing. And it was Leach. Now, here's what I'll give his staff credit for. Not that they weren't good guys, okay? It's just they weren't there was no one on that staff that was highly coveted anywhere else, okay? And I mean, when the tragedy happened, Michigan wasn't calling to pick up X, Y, and Z assistant coach.
No.
Okay? Or Georgia or Penn State or who at Washington or whoever. But the one thing that I did realize, because I went to dinner with a lot of these guys, is how their belief in Leach. And the one thing that I found over the years hanging out with so many different coaches in Starkville and Oxford and other places is how many times the assistants aren't that loyal. I mean, they're happy to be there, but they don't just, they're not all the way bought in. The one thing about Leach's assistants, especially on the offensive side of the football, if Mike said walk outside in the snow in your underwear, in a Speedo, they would do it.
In a heartbeat.
That was the one thing that really blew me away. Because there's so much sandbox stuff going on inside football programs and basketball programs. And where am I going next? And it wasn't that way with Leach and his offensive assistants. Mike Detillier on LSU and the Saints. Saints Cowboys this weekend, coming up next. coming up here in just a second. WWL Radio TV New Orleans, LSU Saints, among other things. And he will join us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. But the show is brought to you by Core Wellness and Recovery. And IV therapy, which is amazing. Red light therapy, may be my favorite. Cryotherapy. All of this is wonderful for you. They've got TED Hair Restoration having super success with males and females. If you're showing hair loss early stages, you want to go to Core Wellness and Recovery in the township, and they'll tell you more about TED Hair Restoration. They've invested heavily into an amazing piece of equipment. Core Wellness and Recovery is in the township across from Sombra. We welcome in Mike Detillier. The Saints blew out the Carolina Panthers, and LSU struggled, I guess, for a little while and then took care of business against Nicholls State. And Mike D joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Mike D, I know you felt like that the Saints were going to beat the Carolina Panthers, but you didn't see them absolutely dominating them like they did last Sunday, did you?
No, I don't think anybody did. That it would be that type beatdown, and you scored the first 9 times you had the football. I mean, that, and no one could have predicted that for an offense that had struggled in the preseason, and that's all you can, kind of go on. And even in practice, it didn't look really steady. But I really thought that what they won was the line of scrimmage on both sides, offensive line, defensive line. They won up front, and I'm still a big believer. Yeah, you got to have a big-time quarterback, but you got to win in the trenches to win big in the NFL. And you saw this past Sunday, the Saints were able to win up front. Now they got a much bigger test this weekend, but they were able to run the football. And that's something that they had really struggled with for the last 2 years. You got over 180 yards rushing on 37 attempts. Bo, that's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. Like San Fran last night. They didn't have McCaffrey. Didn't miss a – I mean, man, Kyle Shanahan we'll continue on with Saints and Cowboys this weekend. But, man –
he outcoached the pants off of Saleh last night. I mean, it's like the Jets didn't even realize who they were playing. I mean, come on, you had weeks to prepare for the 49ers. If you watch, they were so out of position on defense, and that's Saleh's, wheelhouse. And San Fran just fed it to him. It didn't matter who was that running back. We said this last night on our second guest show. Man, going into this game, I like the 49ers to win, and I thought they would cover. Then you hear about McCaffrey, and I said, whoa, you might have to kind of think about this a little bit. But I thought Mason did a tremendous job rushing the football. Remember when, he was the 5A player of the year in Tennessee. And he goes to Georgia Tech and then does not have great workouts leading up to the draft. He's an undrafted free agent. He was a great fit last night, and they just fed it to the Jets. They really did. And it's like the Jets didn't even realize who they were playing. And you talk about Robert Saleh's way over his head as a head coach. You saw it last night. Shanahan, he out-chessed him football-wise every which way but loose.
Mike Detillier, NFL insider out of New Orleans, WWL Radio, joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And the Saints with the big win over the week, because every win in the NFL is a big win. Saints, big win over the Panthers, and the Cowboys went on the road and beat the Cleveland Browns. Mike, it's early, but and look, Cowboys go up and win, and that's a big deal. But it doesn't look like to me that the Cowboys yet, they may get one, but I'm not convinced. I don't think they have a running game. Mike D, your thoughts?
Yeah, still the one thing that's in question. Can they get a consistent running game going? You did go up against a really good defense now.
True.
It's hard to believe. But, I mean, the Browns, you look at every major category last year, they win the top 5 or 6 in every category. You got one of the premier guys in the NFL in Myles Garrett, and they had their moments. I do think I'm a big believer in this, and Sean used to always talk about that the last piece of the puzzle on offense is offensive line play in the running game. And can that get a little better for them? But you know that their pitch and catch game is going to be really good. They can put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They're going to get turnovers. Their special teams have always been really good. And, you know, you got Bones coaching there, and, man, he knows what he's doing. I think that's the big question mark for the Cowboys this year. Can they run it when they need to and have to?
Oof. And I wish they'd have done more around CD. But anyway, all right. So it's Saints at Cowboys. The line's -6.5. Is that too many, Mike D?
Yeah, it's about where I thought. I thought it'd be around a touchdown. It came in, well, I guess, touchdown to extra point. So, yeah, it sort of went where I thought it would be at this stage. And still the question marks is, can the Cowboys run the football against the Saints? And can the Saints slow down that pass rush of the Cowboys? You know, you're going to find a lot more questions answered this week than you saw a week ago. I thought the two most impressive things, well, three things that really jumped out at me this weekend. One, of how good the 49ers are in that scheme-wise to run the football against what you thought was a really good Jets defense. Man, they picked them apart. It was just chewing them up. I thought the Cowboys defense up against Cleveland, and I know they had a little bit of mixing and matching up front along the offensive line, but that was a playoff team, the Browns last year. And the score was no indication of how dominant the Cowboys were in that game. And then what the Saints did offensively, no one could have expected that.
Right.
No one could have thought that they would be that good. We thought this team would kind of lean on their defense, special teams. You knew they had some big play weapons out there with Rashid Shaheed, with Chris Olave. Could they protect Derek Carr? They did that. Highly questioned if they could run the ball for me. And, again, when you grind out 187 yards rushing, you've done your job. Those three things really stuck out to me this weekend. And like I said, you'll get a few more questions answered.
He is Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We've got Saints at the Cowboys, and that's a noon kickoff game on Fox. Cowboys -6.5. I like what Mike D said. Can the Cowboys get a running game going? And can the Saints protect Derek Carr long enough for them to do what they want to do? Last weekend, you could tell that Dak and McCarthy's deal was take the snap, get the ball out of his hand, because of what Mike just referenced. Garrett and those other guys, they just did not mess around. They weren't going to take chances and get cute. I thought it was smart considering they had no running game, and Cleveland was not worried about Rico or Zeke or any of those guys. We'll see if the tight end plays this weekend and kind of for Dallas and go for there. Mike, you know this guy, Dan Campbell, and their new GM from a few years ago at Detroit. They continue to find ways to win in the NFL. It's one of the best stories the last 3 years in the NFL, how they slow built, got it going, got it right. How impressed are you with Campbell and the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, because it was a tough outing in week one, and you catch the Rams. Man, you give McVay a couple of weeks to prepare for you. He's going to come up with innovative stuff, and Stafford and them gave him a hell of a game. But at the end, It was the ability to wear down the Rams defense. Another thing too is, and I think sometimes basically maybe how he presents it, he doesn't maybe come off as that guy, but Dan Campbell's a smart guy. Understanding in game one, if this game goes to overtime, those players had not played a full game. Okay, they had maybe played a couple snaps, maybe a couple series in preseason. I'm going to wear them out. And that final drive for the score, they only threw one pass. Everything else was a run. That's Dan's kind of sentiment toward how he built this team. He wanted to be a real physical team up front. He's got some weapons now with Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta at tight end. Man, he can hit you a lot of different ways, but it goes back to his fundamental belief in that running the football when you need to and have to has to be there, and they showed it Sunday night late. Their secondary is still in question because you saw Stafford, man, he sort of ate them up toward the end of that game, and they didn't want to put that defense back out on the field. But you saw Aiden Hutchinson, and again, it goes to show who you up against. I mean, he ate his lunch. Marcus Davenport, can he stay healthy? Can help him coming off the edge. A big question mark with the Lions are going to be how quickly all these young pieces come together secondary-wise. But, Dan's fundamental thoughts are run the football, and it sets up and opens up everything in the passing game. And that's exactly what happened. But late in the game, that's what he wants to do, run the ball, and then understanding in game one that, man, those guys, they have not played a full game in quite some time, and I'm going to wear you out. And that's what he did. And, man, it was typical of what I've seen with Dan, his beliefs. He was a great guy here in New Orleans. We had a lot of fun with him when he'd come on the
I'm
show.
jealous, Mike. He seems like such an interesting dude.
And he could tell stories. Man, he had some stories and Parcells stories and you name it. Man, he had them. But you sort of knew one day he would get his chance. Now, he wants a certain type player to play for him, and you got to have some thick skin. Mm-hmm. But he had always told me, you got to take a chance or two in life on certain things. And he said, that's my belief, too, in personnel, that I have a thought of the type player I want, but I'm willing to take a chance on a guy. If maybe things haven't worked out for him somewhere else, if he's talented, and if he's willing to be a team-oriented player, and it has really worked for him in Detroit, he's put the noise back in that stadium. I mean, he really has, and breathed life into a franchise that had just struggled so mightily for so many years. He's a great fit in Detroit. He really is. Just a great fit there for a blue-collar, tough guy. That's what Dan Campbell is. But, man, storyteller, he's at the top. Now, Greg Williams, it was hard to beat Greg. Greg had more story. Now, how much of that is true, or he stretched it with the rubber band? But, man, he would definitely be the number 2 guy of all our assistant coaches throughout the years that could tell stories. And, it was a lot of it was Parcells related or Sean Payton related. It was one of the two.
That would have been awesome to be able to hang out with Dan Campbell. Hey, Mike D, did you see the Applebee's commercial they dropped last week with Dan Campbell?
That none of that surprises me, because I think there's a certain perception of him of being, he's not a fun guy, and that he doesn't kind of, take a joke well and stuff. Man, that's totally opposite of how he is. But I think that opening press conference, it just sort of set the tone. And now I think people across the football world, and even in Detroit, are getting to know the guy a little bit more. And when you win, I think that personality comes out a little bit more. We sort of saw it a little bit happen early days with Sean. I mean, we had heard about his personality in Dallas. We didn't see it a lot early on, but then you could see it evolve throughout the time. And Dan's the exact same way.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show. For our listeners, Dan Campbell was Sean Payton's associate head coach and tight ends coach. And briefly down at the Dolphins, I think in an interim role, Mike D.
He was an interim head coach. Oh, you got stories about that too.
Oh, I can't imagine.
He had the one thing with him is if you give him effort, if you give him what you got, then he's going to back you up. And there were some people in the organization that really weren't crazy about who he was playing. And he made it known to them, hey, listen, I'm in this position for a reason, and I'm going to play the guys that I think can win for me. And that's always been, his thought process of, because he would say, I don't get these people, because I guess he heard sports talk for a little while he was driving, about people, coaches are they play their favorites all the time. He was like, man, I play my favorites. I play the favorites that can help me win. Like you said, I don't know how you put up with some of these people. And I was like, well, okay, they pay me. You got to understand. But, he sort of ranted a little bit about that who would be dumb enough to think that I'm going to play a lesser player and put my job on the line just because I like him. He said, you know what I like about him? If they play, I'm going to clean it up, they play hard for me. And he said, that's what I want. I want production, and I want you to play hard for me. And I think he's gotten that across to the Lions, that's the type of player I want. And I want to see it on film. I want the scouting reports of what their head coach, assistant coaches, trainers talk about them, teammates or whatever. He was big on that when he, would work out a player. I want to know what kind of makes you tick. And, he was – the way he looked at talent was a little different. He was more new school than people might think. He comes across as an old school coach, which he is, but he's more new school about what'll get you to play hard for me. And what sort of, kind of tunes you up a little bit. And he gets it. He really does. And he relates well to players. That was the one thing we heard back from everybody, Saints player-wise, about Dan Campbell. That's why I knew he would eventually become a head coach. You could hear it from the players of what he meant to them and how well he got along with everybody there. He did push them hard, but Sean did too. I mean, that was a coaching staff that really, really pressed you hard. Dennis Allen was like that on the defensive side of football. He pressed you hard. But, man, Dan Campbell, he got a great personality. And like I said, it fits Detroit and the Michigan area so well. And, Bob always talks about this. The last time they won anything there was when he was the quarterback of the Michigan Panthers in the USFL.
I love it. For our listeners, he's talking about it.
That's the last time they won a championship.
I love it.
Football.
That's right. For our listeners, Mike D is talking about Bobby Hebert, his teammate and co-host down in NOLA at WWL. Mike D, let's see, we've only got a few minutes here, and so I got to get to LSU at South Carolina, which is game day this weekend. It's an 11 a.m. kick, 12 over there, but 11 our time. Mike D, LSU's a work in progress. South Carolina looked good this past weekend, but I don't think Kentucky's that good, and they can't block anybody. What was your takeaway from what happened last weekend, and what are you looking for in this game, LSU at South Carolina?
Man, LSU got to run the football. You return 4 your 5 starting offensive linemen, and Brian Kelly, he kind of hit the brakes about we didn't get out physical by Nichols. All I know is you didn't hardly gain anything rushing the football. So I don't know what film he's watching, but it ain't the one I'm seeing. LSU has not played well up front along the offensive line. You got 2 first-round pick guys there, Emory Jones and Will Campbell. You just haven't been able to run the ball. Nussmeier's really played well, and that didn't surprise me. They got a group of so talented young receivers. That's always going to be there. But can they run the football? We've talked about this all offseason. That defense, now they got really major issues because you lose your best run stuffer in Jacoby and Guillory to an Achilles injury. He's lost for the season. Man, if I'm South Carolina, I feed it to him running the ball. Nichols did. So why wouldn't South Carolina do the exact same thing? So this is an intriguing game here because on paper, LSU's got more talent than South Carolina. But, Bo, I'll be honest with you. Defensively, I thought they played pretty well in game one, and they didn't play very well at all last week against Nichols.
They weren't interested, Mike. They looked
heavy-legged. They looked like a really slow team that was heavy-legged. Brian said it because it was a short week. Short week? You mean to tell me that you play in a Sunday game and then you play, Saturday night and you heavy-legged? I didn't buy that. I agree with you. They seem to be disinterested, but that's on the coaching staff and the leaders on that team.
True.
Come on, you got to snap out of this. You can't just roll your helmets out on the field. Huge game for both South Carolina and LSU this weekend. And South Carolina has got a little bit of confidence going into this game. I think for LSU, though, their ability to score points with the passing game and Nussmeier will give South Carolina some issues. Because, man, they can spread you out a lot of different ways. But they got to get that running game going, and they can't put that defense back out there. Every once in a while, they're going to get a stop. But they're just not really good on the defensive side of the football right now. They're still trying to figure out how to use Harold Perkins. My thing is put him outside like they did year one with him. Come on, we inventing the wheel.
I don't understand it. We had an LSU fan text us about that, Mike D. They said, ask why they won't do that with Harold Perkins. It seems so simple, and yet we're not seeing it. Mike D., that was great. We appreciate you. Big weekend, man. Saints on the road playing the Cowboys, and LSU on the road playing South Carolina. And don't forget, that's an early game. That's an 11 a.m. game here, a noon game for the Tigers and the Gamecocks. Mike D., have a great week, buddy. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Bo. Appreciate it. I don't like them 11 o'clock games. It gets me to do pregame at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I don't blame you. Mike D. on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line.